And we're going to come to you this evening. And we're going to come to you this evening. We're going to present to you the elemental certificates. We're going to come to you with a history of where the world has come and where we are headed. We are going to be presented by Mr. Stephn McNeal, International Executive. We also have Mr. Charles White, also an executive. He is a international executive, I believe, as well. And if he's not, we are going to say he is on his way to ambassadorship, just like him and Mr. McNeal. So with no further ado, to keep integrity of the room, we definitely want you, for total transparency, to put your name on yourself when you're coming into the room. If you don't know how to do that, go to the more button, or you can go to on your PC, you want to click on your name where the participants are and put your name on yourself so we can keep the integrity of the room. We have been positioned for great wealth. And GS Partners is that bridge that bridges us to the CFI to the DeFi world. You're going to find out a lot about what we do, but just a couple of house rules. One house rule is get a pen and a piece of paper out so we can take copious notes. And then we want to put away all distractions. A good mentor of mine, Mr. Nate Hines, would always say, put your distractions away. That be your dog, cat, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, even the goldfish and dog. Please put them all away and let's pay attention to what's going to go on. And we have first up, my good friend, my mentor and business partner who sponsored myself, Mr. Stephn McNeal. He's going to come to us with kind of a walk down memory lane in regards to where the metaverse certificates and the certificates are coming from and where we are headed. But we have to know where the, let's say, I think what we're looking for, the term we'll be looking for, is where that bridge came from, what it actually started, how they laid the foundation. He's going to come to us with that, and then he's going to introduce our main speaker for the evening, Mr. White. So with no further ado, we're going to have Mr. McNeal, who actually is from the state of Chicago, Illinois, now living here in the Seattle, Washington area. He has 6 children, 5 boys, 1 girl, has been married 38 years to the same woman. Hallelujah, somebody can say. And he also used to own 2 insurance companies, sold and ran both of those. But before he comes to the mic, I definitely want to basically ask if anyone that is here from, not from Seattle, if you could put where you are dialing in from in the chat so people can know that this is a international business, meaning we are spanning across 170 countries. So if you could actually put in the chat where you're dialing in from, we'd love to see where you're dialing in from. And with no further ado, while you're doing that, don't forget to put your name on yourself to keep integrity of the room. We want to keep total transparency, and this is an invitation only. So we would like to recognize you and recognize who is coming into the room. So again, as I say, with no further ado, I'm going to introduce to some and present to others my good friend and mentor, Mr. Stephn McNeal. Sir, the floor is yours. I yield.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Johnny Greene Jr. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're logging in from here with this fun time we're going to have sharing with you kind of where we're at in this space of decentralized finance and cryptocurrency and all those great things with our certificates. And so I'm really excited about sharing some of this information, and want to just give a shout out to Mr. Johnny Greene Jr. for doing some phenomenal things just in throughout the whole time we've been building a business. But last week he hosted a meeting out in Bonnie Lake with a couple of his team members that packed the house, and then came over on Saturday morning to do another home meeting with me here in my home, and just been running ever since. He's always on an appointment. He's always chasing the business and helping everybody succeed. And so, yes, too, he's on that ambassador trail, that Crown Ambassador trail. I'm really grateful and thankful to be able to work with Mr. Greene on the daily. So congratulations, bro. Keep winning big, as you always do. We're excited. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and share with you all some of the things that I've discovered in my quest to not just plug into the space, but really kind of dive in to see where our world is going. And one of the things that I did that really opened a door for me and kind of changed my perspective was when I did a little homework. And I want to share my screen here as I get to the beginning. And see, when I first started looking at this space, it never really made sense to me. I was told about it in 2009, and I avoided it. It didn't make sense. I had just recently sold one of my insurance companies, and with Allstate, it just made no sense. And so I didn't get involved at all in this whole crypto thing. Much like a lot of you, it didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense just off the top. And it wasn't until 2011 I got exposed to it again. I think it was $1.12 per coin, Bitcoin. And a buddy asked me a couple if I had gotten involved with it, and I said no. And I asked him a couple questions, and who's the founder? And he gave me a name, Satoshi Nakamoto, but he said, Stephn, no one's ever met him. And then he shared with me that they had no corporate headquarters. That was my next question. And so in my mind, I'm like, you tell me it's the future of money, and I need to send you $2,000, but no one's met the founder, and there's no corporate headquarters. So, and you're over in the Philippines. So long story short, I didn't get involved. I did nothing. 2019 is when the light bulb turned on for me because of a gentleman by the name of Dr. Tyrone Best, a 30-year friend and mentor and colleague and uncle and all that stuff. Just an incredible individual. Gave me a call to tell me about the future of money. And he said, it was Bitcoin, Stephn, let's go. I joined, and then I did homework, and it blew me away. And here's the message that I got, because I missed it 10 years earlier. And so this whole idea of economies of time, I prayed about, God, show me a way, and talk to my wife where I can present this information to people that is palatable, and they won't miss the message because of the messenger. And so this whole idea of economies of time kind of walks us through this process of where there's been paradigm shifts in marketplace that we've already lived through in our past, and we're currently living through in our future. I mean, now and in the future, it's gonna happen. Innovation does just that. It keeps innovating. It doesn't change. It doesn't wait for anybody, right? Time waits for no one, and it didn't wait for me. So this whole idea of an economic order, a system of production where goods and services are brought or meted out in society that changed the way we do life. Apart from the automobiles and moving through all that stuff, you guys remember, some of us are old enough to remember when we landed the first spacecraft, right? Spaceship in the ocean. It was called Apollo 13. They landed in the ocean. Now they have the shuttle, and they can land on a highway. So innovation always innovates. So this whole idea of Web 1.0, some of the things that we're seeing in our lifetime now, just think 20 years ago, no one saw Yahoo. There was no Google, there was no MSN, there was no Explorer. And computer system was just kind of getting off the ground. Remember when we first started getting involved with computers, and they told us we need to learn Fortran and COBOL, and it was really static. It was read only. You could do a few keystrokes. There was no surround sound from your computer. It was just some stuff on a screen. And then you start seeing Web 1.0, now Web 2.0, where we saw this change from just read only to now you can participate. You had Messenger, you got Instagram, you can create a following. You got Facebook, Amazon Web Service, you can order things, Uber, right? It changes the way we do life. And that's the whole idea of an economy of time. Web 3.0, we see the same thing where technology is constantly moving. And some of us can see right here where you have all these different products and services that this gentleman has on his shoulder and head, right? You see all these things, where you see the boom box, the camcorder, you got the DVD, you have DVD players, you got cassette players, all these technologies that we've already lived through, these economies of time. We had these. And then another gentleman hit the scene and kind of changed the way everything happened, right? This gentleman by the name of Steve Jobs. 16 years, man, it's longer than that now, 23 years ago, the whole idea of something really, no, not 23, it was 18, I believe, where this whole idea of taking everything you see in this slide and putting it all in one small device called the smartphone or the smart device. It changed the way we did life. What do we think about it? Some of us go, I don't know what I do without my phone. We leave the house, we can leave our wallet and maybe still go and do what we're going to do, but we don't leave that phone and we go back to get it. So it changes the way we did life. And so now we look at fast forward to how this impacts in terms of our currency as innovation continues to happen. We look at this slide, we think about our fiat currency. We look at what a dollar used to buy us in 1980 and $20 in terms of what it would purchase us. We got a full grocery cart. By 20 years later in 2000, that $20 got us a lot of groceries, but not like it was before. And now today, a $20 in a grocery cart, the game has changed. Not only the grocery carts, they're still the same, but they've made some other carts and baskets that you can walk along with you, right? Because your money is purchasing less. It's not going as far. So they've made a mini cart, and then they give you a basket. You got 3 choices when you walk in the grocery store. Before it's just one big cart. It's changing the game. Boxes of cereal used to be thin and tall. I mean, fat, thick, and tall. Now that same box of cereal that you go buy for your kids or even yourself, it's thin and shorter, but it's still $2.50, $3. So your purchasing power of the dollar is buying less. And look at what has happened with this new idea, this new invention, this thing called Bitcoin. It changed everything. One Bitcoin in 2011, it got you just a couple groceries. Think about that. One Bitcoin in 2011 got you a few groceries. 10 years later, 2021, 2 years ago, one Bitcoin could buy you your car. It can buy your car today too. It's about $26,000 per coin. They're projecting 7 years from now in 2030 that one Bitcoin can purchase you a house. Think about that, how currency is changing right before our eyes in a big way. Think about what banks are doing. Look at this slide and you see in real time. So, and I say this respectfully, it doesn't matter what Uncle Ray, my cousins, my auntie, people I know, love, and trust, my pastor, whatever says about crypto. It is really happening in real time. They're sincere, but if they're operating on 2-year-old information, 10-year-old information, they're just sincerely wrong. It has changed remarkably. And why do I say that? Because the evidence is in the banks that we put all our money in after we make our work all week long. We trust our money in banks, right? But this is what they're doing. This is where they're moving that trust. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, BNY Mellon, these top banks are investing heavily in crypto and blockchain companies. Heavily. This is a 2-year-old slide. So everybody's in the billions now. It's no longer, they're not testing the market. We look at Citigroup, UOB, and HSBC, Wells Fargo. At the top, you look at Goldman Sachs in the light blue, and you look to the right. And once you look at a company to the far right, it's a blockchain company called Certic. This company is very unique. What they're doing is, remember when you first got your first computer, or even a new computer you just got last week or 2 days ago, you probably uploaded some sort of security to navigate online. 90% of the market is dominated by McAfee security. Well, that guy did that. He was genius. He saw a problem, created a solution when people are navigating early in the internet. He's a multi-billionaire. Certic is doing the exact same thing. They're running the same play to help navigate when people get on the blockchain. It is still evolving and it's happening in real time before our eyes. All these banks are moving billions of dollars into this space. Bitcoin now allows, this bull Bitcoin is now being allowed for people in Costa Rica to buy BTC as a primary, in the country's primary payment system. This is real time what's happening. And you see these countries slowly starting to move over and one after another every day now, as you can read online. $1 billion banks terminating cash transactions in all branches in an abrupt shift to the digital currency. This was just a few days ago. This came out. It's happening right before our eyes right now in real time. 2 days ago, Skybridge found it. Every Wall Street firm will sell Bitcoin ETFs to clients. What are ETFs? They're exchange traded funds. They're a package of products like a mutual fund where you have a basket of companies that you're investing in when you go into said future fund. Again, I'm not a financial planner, nor am I giving financial advice, but that's what it is. And so an ETF is the same thing, but it'll be a basket of cryptocurrencies. So when you see these next slides, all these banks are going all in now because 95% of the planet The world's citizens have yet to adopt blockchain and crypto. They got a major head start. They're packaging it, and you see these big financial firms moving, into the space in a big way. Coinbase successfully registers with Spain's central bank. That's huge. That's a crypto exchange that is registered one of the largest central banks, over there in Europe. It's happening right now in real time. And we look at a lot of different banks that are starting to fail and or close in our country. And it's just blowing me away as I look at some of these things, some of these banks that are actually closing. I want to show you this. This is an amazing slide right here. Wells Fargo, this bank is getting ready to have a lot of their different branches start to close. Which U.S. banks are closing since September 23? This is happening right now in real time for a lot of reasons. Whether it's Wells Fargo throughout different parts of our country, I've never seen this happening or reported. And I'm in my I'm 60 years old. This is blowing me away. Bank of America getting ready to close one right now here in Bellevue. I mean, just 20, 35 minutes away from here, right there, Bellevue Square. Citigroup, Chase. This is happening. You're seeing this more and more and more. And so I'm sharing this with you because it's happening in real time. And I want you to be not just aware, but understand there's some things I need to really start to think about and understand why this is happening. Which ones are closing this month? How has it happened? JP Morgan Bank CEO Jamie Dimon made this statement in 2017. He said Bitcoin was a fraud and that it wouldn't eventually blow up. Now, you may have heard somebody say something similar in your own sphere of influence, but it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. In fact, this guy changed his mind because that same bank just 3 or 4 months ago, they just rolled out the JP Morgan's coin blockchain payments in euro. Why euro? Why all those banks close? Anyway, do your homework on that. Europe's biggest bank starts to add support for Bitcoin, Ethereum, ETFs in Hong Kong. It's happening all around us and in real time. And it's just blowing me away to see this happen. And we have a chance to be early adopters, first movers, not in the bleeding stage of a new technology where it hurts everybody. It's already 10, 13 years old. It's already moving. And so now we got a chance to get involved. You've been blessed to be invited to the Zoom, not because we're on it, but because you're hearing the information. It's critical. We're yelling from the rooftops with a foghorn. Everybody, it's time to get involved. It's time to move into the space. Why? Because it's happening in real time and we have a chance to be a part of it. So we can't yell loud enough to get information to people. We can't, but we're trying. Why? Not yes, there's a chance to be rewarded because of our early adoption, but how many families can we save? How many families can we get positioned early in this space? Unlike what the banks are doing, they're not sending you a newsletter, right? They're not saying, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Williams, Mr. George, or Mrs. Susie. They're not sending you a newsletter or any type of letter saying, hey, listen, we believe this Bitcoin and crypto stuff is amazing. We're spending billions of dollars. We think you should move some of your dollars over there too. No, it's crickets. You ain't hearing nothing. Why? Because it's all about profit and they want to position themselves before the masses gets involved. And we're telling you, flip that script. It's time to start moving right now in this space and get plugged in. Well, I want to stop sharing my screen here and I want to bring on a gentleman that's right out amazing. We have none but love and mad respect for Mr. Charles White, a former senior VP of relationship management from some large Midwestern banks and insurance companies. He's led efforts in relationships with existing financial institutions. He currently possesses over 41 years of experience at a high level in the financial services industry. He's retired, and his wife Gail are out there in Dallas, Texas. He has a mad love for the king of the universe. He's doing some phenomenal things. And we love to be at the spout of wisdom from Mr. White and others on our platform that we get a chance to learn from every day. There's so much content coming out, and this is an amazing space to be in. So without further ado, I want to bring out, there he is, Mr. Charles White. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Mr. McNeal, I got a question for you. Don't go away yet.
Okay.
Why Why do you think the banks are not talking about this? Why do you think they're, it's like a gold rush, right? And they want to get there first. That's the statement I wanted to make. It's a gold rush and they want to get there before you do. And so that they can service you and charge you and make money from your money. That's what they're doing right now. And they don't want to stop it. It's like, I was thinking about this the other day. Money is a drug. Money's a drug. As much as cocaine is a drug, money's a drug. And those guys have been hooked on our money for so many years that they don't know what to do without that drug. Our money is their drug. So I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna stop talking about that and get my presentation started. But I want you to think about that. That's a big deal. Why do they think they have to get ahead of us in order to charge us? Why can't we just go of our own volition? And that's wow, that's a big deal. So I'm going to start my screen. I'm going to share. I'm going to put the sound on, Mr. Greene, like you always instruct me to do. I'm going to pick up the right presentation and share my screen and make this thing big. And wow, I might even have it right. So I want to welcome you to this presentation. And this presentation is put on by the Global Freedom Rising team. And this is, this is part of the team. We are also part of a much larger team, the Houston International Freedom Team and the Freedom Team. And we all fall under Michael Dalco, who is our ultimate sponsor. So I want to talk about my wife Gail, who's actually doing another Zoom right now, even as we speak. We're kind of multitasking tonight. She's a certified training manager. She's a certified life coach. She's a money empowerment speaker and blog writer. In a little bit, I'm going to bring up one of her ebooks with a QR code so that you can scan the QR code with your phone. So get ready. That's coming up. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. And what that book does is I'll use some terms here tonight. That book reveals the definitions of the terms that I'll be using here tonight. So you might want to scan that book and get that ebook. So I am a former registered securities principal. I don't know what you mean, if you know what that means, but that's the guy where the buck stops at a brokerage firm. He's the one that supervises the marketing material. He supervises the stockbrokers. He works directly with the clients who have an issue. So at a brokerage firm, you don't call your broker and say, I've got an issue. You have to talk to the securities principal. And so he's the first one to get fired if something really goes wrong, because they do what's called failure to supervise. So I had that position at our firm, and it's a very tough position. So I was an executive in banking, insurance, and securities, a chartered retirement planning counselor. That's where they taught me how to withdraw 4% from your account every year. If you had $1 million, you could withdraw 4% and not run out of money until you died. So that's, I look back on that and I say, how ridiculous. There's a term for you, Mr. Greene, ridiculous. Certified financial education instructor is what I am right now. All those other things, I let them go because they're all licenses that you have to keep and maintain. The insurance licenses in 50 states and Hawaii, 50 states and Puerto Rico and Guam, you have to maintain all those licenses. And you know what? Nah, not anymore. So I'm a certified financial education instructor. Here's my instructor. Here's my banner over here. Okay.
Every day, everywhere in the world, people wake up, get dressed, and head off to make a living, following the path they've chosen. But deep down inside, there's always a desire for a better way, a simpler way, a legitimate way to make more money, have more free time, and enjoy life rather than just work until we die. We have found a 100% legitimate, inexpensive, logical system with a valuable product and real-time commissions. Generate income with just a cell phone and an internet connection from anywhere at any time. Get started now, get paid now. Do you look for ways to make more money? Ask for info, and we will send you more information. Let's talk.
Yes, let's talk. Do you recognize this man? I love these slides because I went to the University of Virginia. And if you know anything about Virginia, you know that this is Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was a spokesman for democracy, was an American founding father, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. I guess I'm really making these numbers current, aren't I? 1776. And the third president of the United States from 1801 to 1809. And so I found this quote from Thomas Jefferson, which really got me to thinking about this whole presentation. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, you know what that is. That's when prices go up. Then by deflation, you may not know what that is. That's when prices go down. Deflation is worse than inflation. And I don't want to get into a deflationary period. You may think you would want to, but then nobody works in a deflationary period. Nobody works. Okay. So the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. That's what Thomas had to say. So let's take another look, okay? So here's a progression of money in the United States. The Federal Reserve Act was passed by the 63rd United States Congress and signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson, there's his picture below, on December 13th, 1913. The law created, let's get him out of the way. Let's go back, let's see. The law created the central banking system, and it gave monetary policy in the United States to a private bank, the deceptively named Federal Reserve Bank. And it created a tax code. We didn't have one before then, but the tax code they created is virtually the same tax code that we have today. They've had a few tweaks over the years, but I want you to know something. If you didn't hear anything else from me today, write this down. The tax code favors wealthy people and big business. It favors wealthy people and big business. Why do I say that? Because they get loopholes that the rest of us don't get. In other words, they can buy a private jet and write the whole dang thing off. Okay, we don't have the money to do that. I guess we could do it if we had the money. Okay, but the wealthy people get these loopholes. All right. So with that being our background, let's go a little further. Let's talk about the gold standard. In 1933, the United States operated on a gold standard. What that meant was the dollar was pegged to gold. The US dollar was pegged to gold at $20 per ounce. And so following Britain's lead, President Franklin Roosevelt took the US off the gold standard. Boom, number one. Number two, by the way, we were in what's called the Great Depression at the time. Number two, next by executive order, he called for all the gold in the US to be delivered to the Federal Reserve Bank at $20 per ounce. Number three, so they took all the gold. If you've seen the movie or read the play, The Wizard of Oz, was written a little bit after this time. The gold in the yellow brick road is the money that they took from the US people. The tornado that Dorothy was caught up in, that was the economic disaster from 1929 all the way through the middle of the next decade. Then he passed a law in Congress to raise the price of gold to $35 per ounce, allowing the Federal Reserve to print more money. So, you know, we got the Federal Reserve in 1913, here in 1933, we're letting them print money. Okay, so what are we gonna do with the money? We're going to issue bonds and bail the country out. We're going to get what's called the New Deal. This is what this guy did, and he shepherded us through the Great Depression and the war that followed. All right, now let's skip way ahead. This guy is James Earl Carter, the 39th POTUS. POTUS means President of the United States. In 1978, Congress approved the Revenue Act of '78, which allowed for 401k plans. Woo! yippee. This act was implemented in the spirit of government giving employees options for retirement outside the standard pension plan. Who asked them? This act was the beginning of the end of pensions, as corporations in the US in reality have been lobbying Congress to shut down their pension plans because they were too expensive to administer. And the employer held all the investment risks. So, and the liability for making sure that the money didn't get away. And they didn't want that anymore. So corporate America lobbied Congress, and they wanted a way to reduce costs and transfer the risk from the company to the employee. This is what came about with this Revenue Act of 1978. So on the front side, I always talk about the front side and the back side of my hand. On the front side of my hand, which is, kind of clear, you get, oh, we're going to give you an option. On the back side of my hand, oh, we're going to get rid of your pension. They really didn't talk a lot about that. Okay. So you'll find lots of things in our government like that. They emphasize what they want you to see and hear and do and think positive about, but they don't talk about the repercussions of problems that could come up, like this difficulties with the 401k plan that we got stuck with. There was a time when every company had a pension. Now, most companies have a 401k. Some companies don't have anything. Okay. But very few companies have a pension, less than 2%. Less than 2% of the companies in the United States have a pension anymore. And what was good about a pension? You got a regular payment. There was somebody who managed the money. It was like a paycheck, and it just went on till you died. And you might have even had a benefit where you could sign up and get your wife as a beneficiary, and the payments would keep going until she died. That, like I said, there's only 2% of the companies, less than 2%, that still have the pension plan. Now, here's the 401k. You save your money, the company might add a little bit to it, and over the course of your working life, you will come out way ahead of the pension. Not so thus far. It has not been so. Why? The 401k is subject to market fluctuations. The money in the 401k is invested in mutual funds. And who's getting rich from that? The mutual fund companies. Have anybody ever noticed that Fidelity is over $1 trillion company now? Wonder why that is. Because they manage the pension, the 401ks. Most of the 401ks in the nation are managed by Fidelity. Are they a bad company? No, they just took advantage of an opportunity. And so they get paid. Fidelity charges a fee for managing those 401ks for those companies. Guess who else gets a cut out of that? The company does. They take a cut out of your money. Most people don't know that. So the other thing is that the mutual funds go up, mutual funds go down. We're just in the middle. I think we're in the middle of one of the worst bear markets, when everything looks like it's going to go down continually. Then it goes up and then crash, up and then crash, up and then crash. We're still in that. And so that if your value in, let's say 2021, let's say you had 500,000, and then you looked at your 401k in 2023 and you saw 250,000, that is not uncommon. 50% loss. Is there somebody that's going to put that money back in your account? No. That money gone. Okay. And so the second thing that's wrong with 401ks is there's no income strategy. You retire and you have this lump sum of money, and then you have to fight off all of your friends and relatives who know that you retired and you have a lump sum of money, and they want you to fund their business projects. They want you to fund their restaurants and I'm manufacturing this, and will you do this and will you do that? Well, who's supposed to do that is the bank. And the bank won't do it because the projects are not sound. And so they convince you to invest in their project, and then you lose your money because the project fails. And you see Bill sitting around smoking a cigar and driving a new car. So Bill, what's going on with the project? You get one of those. Okay. I wouldn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm not going to do it. And I wouldn't do it because you know what? I am qualified to evaluate those business opportunities. I'm just not going to do it. Go to the bank, let the pros do it. Okay. It's limited by your mindset and your money management acumen. So along the way, you're going to have to manage those mutual funds. Along the way, you're going to have to decide what to do along the way. And if you don't know, then you're going to have to hire somebody, especially on the backside of it, to manage the money for you. More fees. Okay. So those are the problems with the 401k. So perhaps Mr. Jefferson was right. Have you seen any homeless people? That's what he predicted. And I, looking back in hindsight is 2020, that was pretty prophetic. All right, let's go forward. I know you're saying, why am I here? The opportunity is bigger than you think. These are some questions you may be asking. Is my money safe or my deposit? Is my money guaranteed? Does the FDIC fully insure all my deposits? I'm laughing about that because in 2009, they made a significant change to the FDIC and nobody even knows about it. Nobody talks about it. But remember, Mr. Greene asked you to get a piece of paper and a pen? Write this down. Dodd, D-O-D-D, Frank, F-R-A-N-K, Act. The Dodd-Frank Act. I believe it was 2009. Made a significant change to the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Who is this company? What will I gain by fully participating? So I want to talk about the Federal Reserve Bank Deposit Act of 2020. You can read about the Dodd-Frank Act. It's going to scare the crap out of you. So this is a conversation about the CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency, and about FedNow. FedNow has already been enacted. It is live and running. FedNow, so this is FedNow bill, House Bill 14067. It's new government technology to do money transfers started to July 20th, 2023. This will be a new app on your phone. You're already using electronic currencies like Cash App or Zelle, or I've got a couple of others in my wallet that I use. I can't even think of the name of them. You'll be relying on the Federal Reserve for money transfer. Right now, we take our orders to the bank to transfer money from one place to another, and they do it in their own sweet time, and they don't take responsibility for anything. They'll do it though. I mean, and they'll charge you $35 for it, or some of them charge $50. But this new technology will be instant. It takes a wire transfer through the bank an hour or more to get to where it's going. This new system that went into effect in July will be instant. It'll be an instant transfer. So the CBDC is coming soon. It's a central bank digital currency issued by the Federal Reserve Bank. It's been in testing since 2019 at MIT, which is Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Massachusetts. And they hired them through a government grant and a contract to develop this new central bank digital currency. And so the problem that we have is 17% of the people, 56 million people in the United States, rely on cash. They are unbanked. So that's going to be a problem. And the digital dollar could soon replace the US dollar. And so if you don't deal with a bank and you don't have a cell phone and you don't, all these things could be a problem. So they're going to have to figure all these things out. If you could be in a spot where they would give you a cell phone so that you could handle your money that way. But what I see is that all the currency, the coins, the bills will go away. That's what I see coming. That's what they're preparing for. That's what the House Bill 67 is saying is going to happen. The government is after that right now. There are parts of the government now that have been such a big outcry, like Florida passed a law where they can't do it in Florida. So there's problems. They're going to have to work through those problems. But I want to tell you something, Florida can't stand alone. All right, so the FedNow infrastructure is already in place. And so that gets us to my presentation goal, is to demonstrate a simple product that can make your money work and grow for you without using obsolete traditional methods. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the bank, the financial institutions that actually work against you. Why would I say that they work against you? Let's take a look at this. First of all, I want to do a disclaimer. I'm going to put my glasses on too, so I can read this thing to you. I had a pair of glasses. This presentation, wow, what a difference a glasses make. This presentation is for the exclusive purpose of educating the community members and users of products, services, and potential reward programs found on the gspartners.global platform. Every effort has been made to accurately represent the GS Partners rewards plan and its income potential. All earnings or income examples will depend solely on the ideas, techniques, knowledge, skills, and time vested into your independent business. GS Partners does not guarantee any results for any decisions you make in relation to promoting our products or your business. All income examples used by GS Partners are not to be considered average earnings. I got a smudge here. We're not financial advisors. We're not tax advisors. We're not giving financial or tax advice. It doesn't say tax, but I'm adding that in. And so we got a smudge there. And you can take a screenshot of this if you like and go back and read it later. GS Partners provides a wide range of IT and telecommunication services to non-Comoros citizens and its residents. Additionally, gspartners.global services do not involve the company. This is a big thing right here. Receiving any fiat money. In other words, you can't, if you see something you like, you can't get it with fiat money. That's money issued by a government from the customer, and will not manage, lease, loan, or use any fiat assets such as USD, which is US dollars, Euro, EUR, which is euros, GBP is the British pound, the Swiss franc, the Japanese yen, the Chinese yuan, any of those things, any other legal currency in any process or services or products provided on the platform. You can also register as a distribution member without obligation to start distribution activities. Okay, that's our disclaimer. So the current financial system is centralized. In the United States, the Federal Reserve System, I talked about that earlier, is a financial institution given privileged control over the production and distribution of money and credit for a nation or group of nations. In fact, the Federal Reserve controls the money for the entire world because the United States dollar is the reserve currency for the world. Every dollar of debt in the world, if Australia, I notice we have somebody on from Australia tonight. If Australia owes China money, they owe them US dollars. If you can fathom that, that's the way it works. In this financial system, there are institutions such as banks, insurance companies, and stock exchanges. We'll call them financial institutions that permit the exchange of funds. All right, so let's go forward. Here's the average savings bank interest rates at a traditional US bank. Remember, I talked about things that work against you. Let's look at this. The traditional bank, 2,000 US dollar times 0.5% APY equals $10 over the course of a year times 1.5, 18 months. That's $15 that you would earn. And whoop-de-doo. I feel really excited about that. So let's look at some rates at some of the big banks in the United States. Bank of America, 0.03%. That's less than that 0.50. Wells Fargo, 0.01%, way less. Citibank, 0.08%, way less. Chase, 0.01. By the way, 0.01% is the legal minimum rate allowed by law. It is the legal minimum rate allowed by law. Is that working for you or against you? I'm just asking. So if the source of it is bankrate.com, and they have a tradition of keeping up with bank rates and being very accurate. So you can go to this website right here and get that information. Now, here's what I want to show you. This is a savings summary from Chase Savings, Chase Bank Savings Account. This is a live actual bank account. The beginning balance was $8,350.16. Deposits in addition, $2,650.03. Electronic withdrawal, $6,000. Ending balance, $5,019. Okay, $5,000.19. Annual percentage yield earned this period, 0.01%. Interest paid this period, 0.03 cents. Not a nickel. It's 3 cents. So what I'm going to do is ask you, not this minute, but write down on your document, check my bank statement. Check my bank statement. Write that down. Check my bank statement as a to-do. You go look at yours because you haven't been paying attention. And so while you're not paying attention, these banks, you see them down here, here's a whole list of them. They all issue credit cards. And so they charge from 19 to 29% on those credit cards. And guess what? They still pay you 3 cents over the period. Interest paid year to date, 45 cents, not a half dollar, 45 cents. So I just did this because I wanted you to think. I wanted you to go investigate. Go look at your credit card statements as well and see how much you're paying on that. This is not a good situation. Is it working for you or against you? You make the call. 0.01%, reset for the year, okay? Listen to this guy. This is Andy Stephn. And so despite the fact that banks are controlling everything, listen to what they're starting to do. This is a direct result of that Dodd-Frank Act that I talked about a little bit ago that I asked you to write down. It's short, but watch what Andy says.
Should be. I think it's really symptomatic of a bigger problem. And that bigger problem is that the banks are in a panic about more and more deposits leaving. And when was it the decision of these banks to tell us what we could and what we couldn't do, or when we can and when we should or shouldn't move? They never say that about moving into to an S&P index fund or into a mutual fund or whatever it may be. And who gave them that authority? To me, it's very concerning. And those banks, if they're going to that length to make it that difficult to move your money, you ought to think about moving all of it immediately.
Popular financial commentator and precious metals analyst Andy Stephn has raised alarm about the newest tactic by banks in the United States to discourage depositors from investing in precious metals like gold and silver. Andy, the president of Minnesota-based bullion dealer Miles Franklin Precious Metals, says his company was recently contacted by a bank, presumably to confirm if the firm is really a certified bullion dealer on behalf of one of their customers that wanted to make some significant purchases from Miles Franklin. To an onlooker, this sounds like a harmless good deed by a bank showing genuine concerns for the safety of their customers' resources. However, Andy warns that it is only the beginning of a nasty can of worms that is about to swiftly descend on people who still have large deposits in banks. According to the Miles Franklin president, banks are not just issuing fraud alerts when depositors try to make wire transfers to bullion dealers. They are also outrightly asking customers if they are certain that investing in precious metals is the safe thing to do at the moment. That is nothing short of manipulative behavior from the members of an industry well known globally for doing just about anything to achieve its goals. With bank deposits dropping by over $70 billion just 2 weeks ago, Andy says the goal of banks is to drastically reduce all outflows. So they will manipulate, gaslight, and do just about every other thing to keep your money. Andy also warns that as the banking crisis worsens, and practically everyone is saying it will, these banks are going to get even more desperate to avoid large outflows, which could cause bank runs. That is why the renowned analyst is warning that the right time to get your money out of the banks is right now. Even tomorrow might be too late because the entire industry is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Just one bad news and everything could go up in smoke. We will now bring you clips from Andy's recent interview with the Economic Ninja. Please watch, share, and like this video as Andy discusses what's happening in the banking sector and how you can use precious metals and other assets to protect your wealth. Also, ensure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you get instantly notified when we upload a video. Thanks and enjoy.
You know, it's not normal, but it's becoming normal. And, you know, they spoke with my operations manager who said to the bank, yeah, this is all legit. You can release the funds. And they said, well, we need to have it go through compliance. And the response back was, well, no, you don't. Why do you have to let it go through compliance? This is the client's wishes. Yep. Well, we have to make sure that it goes through compliance. But we have seen, you know, we go back to the order that we did last year for $50 million. One of the 2 orders that we did of that size, it took the lady almost 5 days to get the money wired. And that's why she wanted us to tell the world about it, that, hey, It's one thing, it's very easy to write the bank a check for $50 million and have them take it gladly. It's another thing to get it out. And what we view as our money, remember, we're unsecured general creditors to the bank. What we view as our money and our ability to get it is becoming much more difficult as these banks struggle with the mass exodus of deposits leaving in search of yield and of safety. So yeah, I think it is becoming normal and will become much more normal as well. No, I think that they've actually created some departments or positions at these banks called client retention management, because they are losing clients, they are losing deposits. It's a mass exodus, and this is not going to change. But people need to remember that when these depositors leave, especially if we see large deposits leaving or many of them leaving, this is what got Silicon Valley Bank into trouble. Now, that was a bank run, but the premise is the same, that these banks are undercapitalized and over leveraged, and they're leveraged with what they thought was good assets, that being mortgage-backed securities and treasuries and muni bonds and all of these things that have lost 50 or 60% of their value. And if they aren't capitalized enough with money in-house in order to meet those deposits, they're forced to sell these assets at a loss, which really, really hurts them. So they're doing all they can to mitigate not only the speed in which the money gets out, but to take the bold step of pretending that there are parents or our guardians and looking out for our best interests. And my question is, at what point did any of these banks ever become that entity that we have asked for? They're looking over our shoulder to make sure, look, if the client comes in and says, I'm a big boy, I'm a big girl, this is what I want to do, I have verified the wire instructions, this is where I want the money to go, call the company says the address is right, and it still needs to go to compliance, there's something really wrong with this. And it isn't your money, it's their money, and they're making the determination when and how easily, and if at all, that money gets released. That to me is rather concerning, and probably the beginning of a trend as more of this happens. And heaven forbid we see a bail-in, which should have happened a long time ago. These banks should not have been bailed out. That's part of the Dodd-Frank Act. We see a bank get bailed in and watch the craziness when people run to pull their money out, and watch what happens then. So yeah, I think this is something we're going to see a lot more of.
At this stage, one must ask, why are banks trying to stop people from investing in precious metals when they will not try to do the same if the money was going into an S&P index fund or into a mutual fund? The answer, in our opinion, will not be far-fetched. They know something big is on the horizon for the banking industry and the U.S. economy in general, and that in periods such as this, many investors will prefer to exit into safe haven assets like gold and silver. So Andy's summation that this is going to get way worse is not at all far-fetched. There are going to be many more restrictions placed against investors who want to divert some funds into gold and silver. Before that happens, you need to ensure your funds are sufficiently protected and you are not at the mercy of the collapsing banking industry. Let's get back to Andy's interview.
Look, it's one thing for us to sit here and say, stock market's overvalued and over-leveraged and risky. The real estate market, the bond market, it's one thing to espouse economic theory and talk about how it could affect your investments. It's another thing altogether to say, hey, by the way, the money in the bank, well, it's not safe. And if they fail, the fact that these banks were bailed in or gobbled up by JP Morgan or Bank of California, which, by the way, JP Morgan was on the back end of that. I have a very good friend who's one of the top analysts at JP Morgan. He said he spent all week on that PacWest Bank of California deal himself in New York City. So the point of it is that these banks that have fallen already have been gobbled up or consolidated by JP, or were bailed out by the FDIC, supposedly not at the cost or at the expense of the taxpayer, which is a bunch of malarkey. The bottom line is that they're supposed to be bailed in. That's what the Dodd-Frank law said. And when you see that happen, you will see, I believe, a massive amount of anxiety, unlike anything anyone's ever seen. And that's what we're seeing now. People are saying, look, I don't feel safe with my money in the bank. And so gold and silver represent, I think, something outside the system that carries no counterparty risk. And that's really what it's all about. It's not about becoming wealthy. It's about keeping your wealth and removing the counterparty risk and the systemic nature of the problem. So it's a different mindset primarily altogether. And I think you see an event like any of these regional banks failing and Janet says, no, no more bailout, no more consolidation. We're going to bail in. And people will understand what that means. It is law. The fact that it hasn't happened yet is only delaying the inevitable. And that inevitable will be a panic that where that M2 line will fall off a cliff. And I just think that we're not there yet. But that is the difference, is that people are focusing not on their investments as much as they are their savings. And the chance of losing that is pushing them here. It's also worth mentioning that this isn't just related to the regional banks, the ones that carry all the 70% of the commercial real estate loans, of which $1 billion plus have to reset over the next 15 months. This is also about the commercial banks, where the biggest money in the United States is rapidly pulling their money out of the commercial banks as well, and going directly to treasurydirect.gov would be my guess, or into precious metals, or into things outside the banking system. Because look, if you go directly to the treasury and buy short-term duration treasuries, 6-month treasuries, you're betting on the US government. And if the US government fails, well, the banks are in big trouble, as you know, as is right there. So to see the amount of money actually dwarf money coming out of the commercial banks are dwarfing what we're seeing coming out of the regional banks. And those people, I would argue, are a little bit more well-informed. So this is not just an issue of money leaving the regional banks, it's also the commercial banks. So there is strain across the entire system. And as rates keep rising, more strain and more problems. So again, I don't think this is an isolated deal. I don't think that this is something that we'll look at the end of the year and say, geez, that was a scary deal. Good thing we got by it. I think it's just the very beginning, and I expect to see much more. So look, if you're concerned about your money in the banks, or have too much in one bank, be proactive and mitigate your exposure. Spread it around. And I've heard you say this before, over several banks. Go directly to the treasurydirect.gov and buy short-term treasuries, buy precious metals, do whatever it is you want to do, and do it before it becomes very difficult to do. It's already getting tough. Should be. I think it's.
He's selling precious metals. He's president of a precious metals company. And the reason I played that clip was because we're seeing the same kind of resistance helping people move their money to purchase cryptocurrency as well. So he mentioned a term that you need to write down on your sheet. 2 terms. One is bailout. The other one is bail in. Bail out means the federal deposit insurance company will step in and shore up all the depositors in a failed bank. Bail in law from the Dodd-Frank Act says that we're going to bail in this bank. What does that mean? That means that each depositor becomes, you're already a creditor of the bank, but they will use your money to shore up the bank. And then you will get your money after the government sells the bank's assets. That could take years. And your money will be frozen until then. That's what the law says, passed in 2009, the Dodd-Frank Act. Go read it yourself. Don't take my word for it. Please don't. Don't say Charles White said. Say, I read the Dodd-Frank Act and I see what it says about the bail-in, and it scares the crap out of me. Okay? So anyway, decentralized banking. Let's talk about that. We just talked about centralized banking. Digital assets. This is the future of money. Bitcoin, Tether. Come on now. Decentralized finance. This is one of the companies that we use all the time. Coinbase, Ethereum, the metaverse. We're going to talk about the metaverse a little bit in a few minutes, and Web 3.0. Mr. McNeal talked about Web 3.0. That's the future of money. Remember, I told you that I was going to put up a, goodness gracious, don't go away, a QR code This Money Empowerment in the Digital Age is an ebook that Mrs. White wrote. Some of you already have it. If you don't have it, here's a QR code. Scan this QR code with the camera on your phone, and then you can pick up the study tool kit for explanations of all the pertinent concepts, things that you really need to know going forward. Okay, scan that QR code. I'll leave it up for another second, and then I will move forward. Okay, the new digital era is here. We're almost done with this presentation, if you were wondering. I'm going to talk about the metaverse certificates, overview and how they work. The certificate price, every certificate has a price plus the load equals the total deposit. Okay, so I put price in parentheses, and so the price generates income, a weekly income of from 5 to 22% over the contract period. And the load, this is the terms the company uses, is a growth engine, and it produces a monthly blockfolio payback reward for over the contract period. Contracts are 18, 24, 30, 36 months of 1.5% per month. That's how that works. So you can, either one of those, you can withdraw and spend them now, or you can compound them and get them later. Okay, both sides are fully loaded. The weekly and monthly rewards activate. I like that word, they activate, and you can withdraw your rewards or compound them. There are 9 price points with the certificates, from the Terra at $100, 100 USDT, all the way to the Prana at 100,000 USDT. Here's how they look. I have a sample for you. This is the heart. It's the purchase price of the heart. I got to move some stuff here so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. The purchase price, there are 6 block folios: financial technology or fintech, renewable energy, real estate, meta portfolio, supplements, and gaming. You can load one or all of them, but you must load at least one to activate the certificate. So let's look at the heart, 25,000 USDT to purchase. We're looking at the fintech to load it. Let's go a little further. The load is 50,000 USDT. That activates a weekly payback program on the price, 5% for 52 weeks. 5% for 52 weeks. And then once you activate it, you get 1.5% on the load, the main load amount, monthly payback program for 24 months. So that main load produces a bonus of 175,000 USDT. And then you have the option to promotionally load it and get, you see the 2 little asterisks here. There's 2 asterisks. There's some conditions. You load 100,000 USDT, you receive a million USDT. Okay. Now, what are the conditions? I'll get to that in a minute. This is the $5,000 nature certificate. Talking about the fintech again, you remember you can load all those blocks if you want. The purchase price is 5,000 USDT. The load is 10,000 USDT. And this is good until Saturday at 5 p.m. Central Time. The 52-week payback program starts immediately when you load it. You get 5% per week for 52 weeks. You get 1.5% for 24 months in the monthly payback program. The main load is 10,000, generates a bonus at the end of 35,000 USDT. The promotional load is 20,000 USDT, generates a promotional bonus of 200,000 USDT. Now those bonuses, there's 2 little asterisks there. So there's some conditions. I'll get to the conditions in a minute. And because I wanted to show you this, you know, I showed a $25,000 USDT certificate. I showed a 5,000 USDT certificate. Now I'm going to show a 250 USDT certificate, because this system is available to anyone. Anyone can do this. Talking about the fintech, the purchase price is 250 USDT. After you load, the load is 500 USDT, and the payback starts at 5% per week for 52 weeks. All right. 1.5% per month for so you see they all work the same. 24 months on the payback program. The main load of 500 USDT yields a bonus of 1,750 USDT. I think that's flat out amazing. And then the promotional load of 1,000 USDT could lead to a bonus of 10,000 USDT. I think that's phenomenal, as my friend Crypto Steve says. Now, here's the promotional load. Here's all bonuses and loads are released at the end of the term. That's the first thing you need to know. Okay. The second thing you need to know is that 100% of the eligible, 100% of the bonus, of the promotional bonus, is eligible if the user attends the Come to Cape Town event. 50% of the bonus is eligible if the user does not attend. So instead of getting $1 million, $1 million USDT on that big certificate, you only get 500 USDT, if that makes any sense. Okay. For more information about the specific product, you can access our frequently asked questions at gsbdswiss.tech. Okay, note, only 50% of the promotional bonus shown on the face of the certificate will be available if the one purchasing does not attend the Cape Town event. You got to go to Cape Town to get that whole deal. All right. So step one, how to get started. Step one, register a free GS Partners account using your referral link from your introducing member. Fund your GS Partners account with crypto and activate your GSP membership for only 33 USDT per month for receiving all benefits. Now, it's 33 USD per month, but I pay by the year 396 USDT, and I don't think about it anymore. Step two, use the gsp.global platform, accepted cryptocurrencies in exchange for the elemental certificates of your choice. I see the end of the elementals coming because of the big bonuses they're giving out. I see it coming. If you want an elemental, don't delay. 100% load your certificate and start earning in the payback program. And then step three, tell your friends. Use a lucrative referral rewards program through GS Partners and start earning daily. I earn daily. And so welcome to our community. Get back to the person who invited you if you have questions about some of these things. I've gone over a little bit tonight. But Mr. Greene, I think I will take one or two questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn this meeting back over to Mr. Johnny Greene Jr.
Now, Mr. White, I'll have to say, for the team of individuals that are still here, that was absolutely phenomenal presentation, if I could say so myself. Folks, I have two questions that are going to be asked of the general public, and there's only one rule to this question. And the rule is how to get started